So for the last few days, I've been at Funnel Hacking Live, the event by Russell Brunson and the whole ClickFunnels team, and I made a ton of notes, and I wanted to share my top insights with all of you. Kreij here, and like I said, I want to dive into the top insights that I had. So a couple days ago, I flew all the way from the Netherlands all the way to Florida, and as any grown-up man would do, if you go to an event in Florida, what do? First, you go to Disneyland. Of course, you go to Disneyland. It's one of those places that's just magical, and I think it's just inspiring and amazing to see what one guy can do if you have a big vision and just put it all together. So spend a couple hours there just so that get into the vibe, get used to the jet lag and all that stuff before we dove into the event. Now, obviously, there's a lot of things, a lot of insights, a lot of things I learned at the event, not just at the event itself, but like from all the people around there, and just been amazing to meet with all the old friends and see everyone in the industry. And it's just been a real fun experience over the last couple of days. As you can hear, my voice is kind of sore right now, which is a good sign, right? So obviously I cannot share everything, but I just want to share like a top overview of like some of the things that are going to have a major impact in my business, or I think will have in your business, right? So the first thing that I found interesting is when I signed in for the event, like early in the morning, there's two things that did really clever, right? So first of all, they asked me like, hey, do you have an audience that you can use to promote ClickFunnels? I'm like, that's interesting, right? So from all those people that go to their event, they're not just giving awesome content, but right away in the first spot, they're like checking if they can maybe find some affiliates who can then promote ClickFunnels to all their audience, which is kind of amazing. So that's a good insight for those who are running events yourself. And right away on the same spot, second thing was like, hey, we have a discount for next year's tickets, right? But right now you're at the event, or you're already sold on the whole idea. And this is the best time to sell next year's ticket, right? And not just that, but they did it like this. Like the first day you would get a certain discount. Second day it will be $100 extra, like price will go up. And the third day would go up again. So I think that was quite an interesting thing to do as well. Right away, go for like sell next year's event and like use scarcity. So if you're running an event, that's 2 tips you can use right away. So as Russell dove in, like he started talking about the 3 phases of growing a business, right? We're all entrepreneurs. Well, I want to do everything at the same time. It's so freaking annoying. I mean, it's good that we're creative, but it's freaking annoying at the same time as well, right? And basically how he broke it down to is like basically 3 phases of growing your business, right? First, you go from zero to 7 figures, in other words, $1 million, and then you go from $1 million to 10 million, and then from 10 million to 100 million, right? In a nutshell. I know that for a lot of you, maybe far-fetched or whatever, but like that's kind of what it's all about. And the first phase is not about all these ninja stuff. It's about you figure out the what and the how, like what are you actually selling, and how are you going to sell it. And you're not going to do that for like 10 different products, 10 different businesses, which I used to do, right? Which I used to do when I got started, which is not the best way to do it. And after a while, I realized like I need to focus on just 1 or 2 things. Like just keep it simple, right? And that's really what he mentioned as well. Like just have 1 or 2 funnels and like keep it super simple instead of having to do all that stuff. And just figure out what are you selling, like what is the hook, what is the angle, like how do you get your customers in, and then and how are you selling it? Are you going to sell it through a webinar? Are you going to sell it, like what's your mechanism or your way that you're going to sell it? And only after that, you're going to try to grow your business. And actually, once you figure it out, like there's only three real ways you can grow your business, right? You can either get more customers, you can get them to spend more with you, or you can spend them to spend more often with you, right? It's basically the only 3 things you can do. So that's once you know like what you're selling and how you're selling it, and that's going well, you got that first part figured out, then you start focusing on that, like how you can get more customers, how you can get them to spend more and more often, which is kind of cool. And only after that you start adding in more front-end funnels to get more traffic and more customers into your business in a way. So that's roughly how it works. Another cool thing that he told about, and which I'm actually currently working on as well myself, is to be on every channel. I mean, initially I always build up my email list and that was about it, right? But these days it's not about, like, people are on YouTube and people are on Instagram, people are on Facebook, people are on Medium, people are on LinkedIn, like wherever they are. And the funny thing is that a lot of people, if someone is a video person, they don't read a lot of blog posts, or like maybe some do, but like there's not always a 100% match, right? There's like different people on different networks based on what they prefer to consume. And that was a good insight for me as well. Like instead of just picking one network, like I'm on Facebook, whatever, I want to be on all these channels at the same time. And while doing that, it's all about delivering value. And on these channels, like when you're doing something on Facebook, when you're doing something on YouTube, etc., you're trying to bounce people between all these platforms, right? So if they're on YouTube, you're trying to get them on Facebook and on Instagram, etc. If you're on Instagram, you try to get them to Facebook and all these other channels. And this way, you build up all your following in all these different places. So basically, you have an audience to rely on. And even if something goes wrong with one of your channels, like you still have all the other ones to rely on as well, right? Hey. So it's definitely something I'm going to be doing as well. And one of the things which I also learned at the event is like to properly use what your work in many ways, right? And what I mean with that is to, like, for example, if I shoot a video like this, like the one I'm currently recording, you can either just record a video and upload it to Facebook, or you can record a video, turn it into a blog post, turn it into a podcast, turn it into a Facebook video, turn it into Instagram video, turn it into all these other places. Like, in other words, like repurpose your content, right? As much as possible. And one thing I was sort of struggling with is like, but what if I post it everywhere? Isn't that going to be boring? It's all the same. And then I learned like, no, you just wait for 2 months, right? So you post a video on Facebook, and for example, only 2 months later, you post it on Instagram. And I'm like, wait, I never really thought about that. I always thought like it has to be new and fresh, but because people who are following you on Facebook may not be the exact same people as who are following you on Instagram, so it's not like, you know, it's bad if you post it 2 months later there. And also, like, even if someone already saw it on Facebook before, it's not like it's gonna bother them that it's actually the same video, because it's been 2 months. It's kind of right. So that was a good insight for me as well, to be on all the channels and to basically make it all unique by having a time difference between each post, which is kind of cool. Another one that really stood out for me, and I think I've always been doing this already, but like it was a good reminder, and that is to love your customers and not your product, right? And a lot of people, they're like, we're loving the products. We're like, oh, I've created this awesome product, and because of that, we don't see the imperfections, right? We don't see why it's not good, why people may not love it, or we don't see the actual changes that are happening in the market, right? Big mistake, because if you only focus on your customers and you're like, that is what you're actually focusing on, and just like what are the pains they have, and like what makes them happy, what, like, really understand who they are, then whenever there's a change in the market or a different need, you will know. And because you're not in love with your own product, like you'll see that your product may not be the best fit, or it needs to change or whatever. So yeah, that was a big one for me. Like, just like focusing on love your customers and don't love your product. And I think that was a good reminder for me as well. And something that was really big for me this year as well is that is basically that, like, on a lot of these events I go to, like, I usually get a lot of people like, oh, I got your products, which is awesome. And like over the last couple of years, especially like 2 years ago or so, whenever I spoke to someone, I'm like, oh, that's awesome, you got a viral, or you got connected, oh, that's great. And then, are you using it? I'm like, nah, not yet, I didn't get to it yet. I'm like, damn it, right? Because like, I run a recurring based business, right? So a monthly yearly fee, which means that people need to get all the value from it in order to, you know, keep on paying for it. So that they want to keep paying for that, right? Like, and the only way to getting value from it is they use it, right? So this event, I was like every single time I spoke to people, I'm like, oh, I got a viral, which is awesome. And I'm like, have you used it? Yeah, it's great. Like, I got this amount of leads, and like, I got so many I've heard so many successful stories. I'm like, yes, finally, like, this is where we've been working towards. It's not just about selling your product. Like, the selling your product is easy, right? It's getting people to take action on it, use it, and get a ton of value from it. And that to me was a big insight, like, it just made me happy, like, seeing all these people, like, actually, like, it makes it real, because we're always on your computer, you're doing your thing, and you know that what you're doing is good, but like, being here and like getting people to thank you for it for what you do is like just an amazing experience. And I think that's something that that I just want to bring to all of you as well. Like, if you have a recurring business, or even if you're not, like, don't focus on selling your product. Focus on delivering the value, and that includes getting people to use your product, right? If you have a course, getting people to actually go through it, like, motivate them, like, do whatever you have to do to make sure they follow through. So yeah, that's a big thing for me as well. So another one that I found interesting, and there's once again, there's so many stuff I learned, but this one is kind of easy to implement, and it was actually from Dean Holland, and he said like from all of your pages in your funnel, like there's one page that is very much, like, so much unutilized. Like, you have, for example, like if you're selling something online, and you got a sales page, right? And maybe you have an upsell, I don't know, like, but at some point you're gonna have a thank you page. You're gonna have a page where you say like, hey, thank you for your order, and that is where, you know, where you would get people to know where they log in, or where you have some tracking pixel on, or whatever. But it's basically like a boring page, nothing to do there, and it's a waste. So what he started doing is put a webinar, like a replay of a webinar inside of that page, and not just a webinar, but basically start off with saying hey, awesome, thank you for buying the product. You know what? Why wait? Let's get started right away. Here's the first part of your training, right? And then it starts with value, right? Because it's a webinar, so there's a lot of value in there. And only at some point, obviously, hey, by the way, we have this offer that may be interesting for you. And just by putting that on a webinar, he brought in a lot of extra revenue. And I'm like, huh, that's really interesting. I never thought about it like that. It's not like you don't have to do a webinar there, but using your thank you page for good, which could be like a webinar if you want to have instant revenue. It could also be like an indoctrination video if you want to reestablish that connection with your audience. But whatever you do, that thank you page is just it's not being used to its fullest potential, I think. And that was a good insight for me as well. Super easy to implement, and that's why I wanted to share it with all of you here as well. And another one, something that I've known for a while, is that a lot of people at these kind of events, they have different products at different price ranges, right? And my products are, I think, way too cheap, right? I sell it for way too little, I think, compared to the value that we're getting. I mean, we're selling a viral for $49 a month, and people are getting hundreds of thousands of leads with it, which is kind of insane, right? It doesn't make sense. So we're going to change that at some point, by the way, not in the near future. Let's put it like that. Anyway, what was I saying? So yeah, but a lot of people here, they also sell at different price ranges, including higher price, right? For example, $10,000, $20,000. For me, that's always I can imagine that works, but I'm not comfortable. It's outside my comfort zone, right? And then I've always been focused on the pricing part, that it was just too much. And then this weekend it sort of hit me that it's not about the price. It's about being able to, or willing to, you basically have the duty to serve your customers at the highest level possible, right? Even if they have, for example, a viral, it's an awesome tool, but some people, they want to have more help or whatever, and it's actually my duty to help them at the highest way possible, right? Serve them at the highest level possible. And that really made me realize that that's actually the key to more expensive products, higher ticket products, that it's not about the price, but if you want to serve your customers at the highest level, then you have to charge more, because otherwise you can't. I mean, how could I, for example, spend my own personal time if I would be charging $50 a month? That's not possible, right? But if I would have, for example, a higher price product, then I'd be able to just have a look over the shoulder and give them advice and what to do, and that way I'll be able to help them more. And obviously, it has to be that goes along with a higher price. And I think for me it was this insight, first of all, to have that it's good to have in your business a higher price product, because there's always a percentage of people who want to spend more with your company, which is a good thing. But the real purpose of that is so that you can, those customers, you can help them at the highest level possible, right? It's not about the money, it's about being able to help them. And for me, that was a good shift in my belief that's going to make it easier to move to that way as well, right? So once again, there's a lot of other notes I made in over the last couple of days. I'll probably shoot more videos about that, so make sure to follow me if you're not following me already, because there's some real ninja stuff I learned as well. Like I said, I just wanted to go into some main things. So just to recap, sort of what I just spoke about in this video is to maximize your event, the things I mentioned right away when I signed up in the early morning. The 3 phases of growing your business, to make sure that you love your customers, not your product. To go, if you want to go for recurring, but even if you're not doing a recurring, which by the way you should, make sure that people are getting value, which means that they start using your product. It's not just about selling. Selling is easy. Get them to get the epic value from it once they're actually a customer. That's way more important, actually. Use your thank you page in a clever way, for example, with a webinar on the thank you page, and also that it's your duty to serve your customers at the highest level. And if that means you need to add a higher price product, so be it. So that's it for today. I'll see you all in the next video.